In my last video, I talked about how I think Abyssus may be the sleeper hit of 2021. But as I was making that video, some things were revealed to me about a different coaster. After seeing these things, I was blown away, to the point of making the bold claim that the coaster I was seeing may end up being the best in the world. I'm not sure I still stand by that looking back on it when coasters like The Voyage exist, but the Ride to Happiness by Tomorrowland still looks like it will be one of the world's best coasters. Before I begin explaining why I really think it looks so good, although I guess this is also part of the reason why I think it looks so good, but regardless, let's analyze the layout. You start by pulling out of the station and into a super slow, twisted JoJo roll. This is a pretty rare element, only being on 2 other coasters, both of which are in the US. That makes this a first of its kind element for Europe, and having been on one myself, I can say that it's a super fun element that you should be excited for, especially since the train will be spinning through it. Anyway, next you will enter the first launch. I wouldn't expect too much from this. After all, it's just a Mac LSM launch, which generally aren't exactly known to be all that insane. After this launch, you turn up into what starts as a top hat, but levels out at the top, except it doesn't level out. It turns to the left while outer banked, which could be super cool if the spinning is in your favor. Next, the train plunges down a vertical or almost vertical drop, I'm not really sure which should have crazy ejector airtime in the back if it's anything like Time Traveler's first drop. The next element should be really cool with the spinning aspect. It's a banana roll, which is already cool by itself, and I can only imagine how fun this inversion will be with the cars constantly changing direction. Following this, you enter 2 more inversions, these being a vertical loop and a 0G roll. I've ridden both of these elements on the only other operating extreme spinner at the time of recording, so I can say from experience that the loop will be fun, and the 0G roll nothing special. 1 S-bend later, you enter the second launch, which also happens to be an airtime hill. I have experienced something pretty similar to this on Copperhead Strike, and that hill provides a bit of floater, but nothing too insane. After gaining a little bit of speed, you rise up into an upwards roll that continues to twist into a dive loop of sorts. Coming out of this, you hit a diving airtime hill, a little overbanked twist, then 2 more airtime hills into the brakes. Let me just say, I love this layout. Time Traveler is already one of my favorite coasters, and the Ride to Happiness just looks like it takes the already amazing Time Traveler and adds some airtime and more wacky elements that seem to make it even better. As a normal coaster, this layout would already be really good, and the fact that every element will be taking spinning is so good. But to be one of the best coasters in the world, you have to have a little more than just a great ride experience. What about theming? Well, in the name, you may notice that it's not just the Ride to Happiness. Tacked onto the end is By Tomorrowland. What does that mean? Tomorrowland is an electronic music festival in Belgium, and the stages that it has look gorgeous to say the least. The same people who make these crazy looking stages are the people who will be doing the theming elements for the Ride to Happiness. This means that we can expect really, really good theming, and not just theming in the queue, theming all over. It seriously looks incredible. The concept art for the area blew me away. There should be a multitude of really pretty buildings and a lot of scenery, not to mention that with Tomorrowland literally being a music festival, there should be really good music throughout the area as well. Overall, I think the Ride to Happiness should have an insanely good atmosphere through that whole area of the park. Just imagine a night ride over water with music all around you and laser light shows happening everywhere. This coaster should be something to behold. But there's even more to being an incredible coaster than just layout, theming, and atmosphere. To be the best, the coaster has to be better than a whole lot of other coasters. This part is really subjective, but personally, I'd take this ride experience over any other coaster opening in 2021. I think a lot of people are forgetting about this crazy good looking ride because of other insane coasters planned to open, such as Conda and Iron Gwazi. But as good as those coasters do look, the Ride to Happiness looks so much more complete to me. It's not going to be the world's most intense coaster, or the coaster with the most airtime or laterals, but that's not what it's supposed to be. The goal was just to make a thrilling coaster, but one that everyone can still enjoy, and I think they killed it, at least as far as layout goes. To prove my point, Let's compare this new Mac Extreme spinning coaster to some other new for 2021 coasters, starting with one of the most well-known, Iron Gwazi. Iron Gwazi is going to be an RMC iBox hybrid coaster conversion of Gwazi, a previously existing GCI Woody. Well, actually Iron Gwazi will be more ground up than conversion, but you get the point. This is a really weird comparison, putting a hyper hybrid against an extreme spinner, but I'm gonna do it anyway just so I can share what I think of it against other new additions. Iron Gwazi looks to me like a pretty average large-scale RMC with a few unique elements, such as the death roll. This isn't a bad thing obviously, since RMCs are great rides, but it still feels to me like a few more unique elements could be thrown in. Comparatively, the Ride to Happiness is a super unique ride with a lot of never-before-seen elements on this style of ride. Iron Gwazi will also be geared more towards ultra thrill-seeker people wanting as much airtime and intensity as possible, whereas the Ride to Happiness caters towards people like me who are just looking to have fun on coasters. Since that caters to me, I of course prefer this kind of ride more and therefore will probably like the Ride to Happiness more. If you disagree, which I'm sure most of you do, that's fine as well. I ain't trying to force you to agree with me, I just want to share my opinion, and that's what it is. I did say that we would compare it to multiple new for 2021 coasters, so let's put it up against possibly the biggest boy of them all, Conda at Walibi, Belgium. This coaster has commonly been brought up in the conversation of best new coaster this year, and sometimes people have even gone as far as saying that Conda looks like the best coaster in the world. Straight up, I hard disagree with it being the best in the world, but best of 2021 makes some kind of sense. It's pretty much the same case to me as Iron Gwazi. As far as the layout looks, and as great as all the airtime and elements look, I still can't see myself having the time of my life on it to quite the same extent that I can see myself enjoying the Ride to Happiness. It's just something so different that's hard to find anywhere else. I mean, I guess technically you can get a similar experience on Time Traveler, but a dive loop is most definitely not going to be as good as a banana roll. One final quick thing to note about the Ride to Happiness is the restraints. I'm sure they'll be the standard Mac over-the-shoulder lap bars, which is a good thing, because even stapled, these restraints remain very comfortable. I love the way they sit on my lap. It's not too clamping, but also not too loose to the point that it's uncomfortable how much I can wiggle around. Assuming the Ride to Happiness has the same trains as Time Traveler, that's a good thing. I feel like this has already been made pretty clear, but in the end, the thing that really draws me to like the Ride to Happiness so much is the uniqueness of it. I love the layout, the theming concept art is great, the whole area is amazing, and the Ride to Happiness is sure to be just as good. I really think Belgium has an extremely good winner on their hands with the Ride to Happiness. Let me know what you guys think of the Ride to Happiness and what I've said about it in this video. I'm interested to see if you guys think it looks as good as I do. But anyway, that's it for this video. It would be awesome if you could drop a like on the video as it helps me out a lot with beating the algorithm, and if you genuinely enjoyed this, feel free to subscribe. If you hated me, don't bother I guess. I'll see you next time, goodbye.